Hi everyone, I'm Monique and I'm delighted to be back sharing a new layout for Peartree Cutfiles. Today I'm going to be creating autumn rainbows using the lovely autumn banner tags and the autumn words background cut file. I've cut out the autumn banner twice on white cardstock and I'm just going to be snipping off those little paper strings that are there because I want to use real string. So I cut these off on both cut files and then I do kind of just punch a little hole where those little holes are just so that I can thread some string through. And now what I'm going to be doing is layering these two on top of each other. So I've got my liquid adhesive. I love this liquid adhesive. It's the Nouveau Deluxe adhesive and I am just layering these two on top of each other. It makes the cut file nice and thick and sturdy and I just love the extra weight of it. Now I've also cut out the autumn words background cut file just onto plain white cardstock and I'm using it as a stencil and I've got some texture paste there. It's the Ranger opaque texture paste and I'm just smearing that on just to give it some nice texture. Now this is a new tub of texture paste. Previously I used the Vicky Bouton texture paste or modeling paste, but I couldn't get it. So I've tried this one, which is my first time using it, and I must say I'm really pleased with how it goes on. It dries really quickly and it leaves a lovely texture. And yes, I'm just putting the autumn words along the bottom part of the page because I had planned to put the autumn banner along the top. Now I do wait in between stenciling for each stenciling to dry or else you smudge it. So just either be very careful or wait for each lot to dry before moving on to the next lot. I have a habit of being impatient and not waiting for the texture paste to dry, and I have been known to smudge it in the past. Luckily this page escaped unscathed. So now moving on to all the colors of the rainbow. So I've got a lovely mixing set of these Ecoline watercolor inks and I am using most of the colors. So what I've done is I've just taken a wet paintbrush and just wet a little bit of the background where I want to work with a color, and I started off with the red mixed with a little bit of the pink, and you'll see as I touch the color down onto the wet background it just kind of blends and moves immediately. I love watching these inks move and the vibrancy of these colors. So you will have noticed I don't work in sequence of the rainbow, red, orange, yellow, and so on. I did red first, then I went to the opposite side to do the purple and then into the middle, and that was just to try and allow the colors a little bit of time to dry before doing the color immediately next to them, just so that I've had a little bit of control over how quickly those colors mixed together. I didn't want, for example, the yellow to be so full of the blue and the orange that you didn't really see any of it. So I just wanted to go slowly and make sure that I got a lovely consistent rainbow all the way across. Now, as I mentioned, I planned for those tags to be along the top and I'd done my lovely texture paste at the bottom so that you would see it all. However, I feel that it looked better along the bottom with the photos kind of tucked in behind them and sitting on the top. So I've changed my plan slightly, but it all is going to work out. The photos cover up the untextured background, so it's not a problem. And what I've done now is I've stuck some vellum onto the back of that cut file, and I'm just using my craft knife to cut out the autumn letters so that those have no vellum behind them. And the reason why is I just want those to really stand out against the background. I love vellum for backing a cut file, especially when there's a nice bright background, because it just softens the colors where the cut file are and it allows the cut file to shine. However, with the word autumn, I really wanted that to pop off the page, so I made sure that I'd cut the vellum off of that so that you could see those bright colors peeking through. Now I've just taken a piece of twine and I'm threading that through. I really want it to look like it's just kind of gently tangled there, and now I'm moving on to embellishing. Now I've got these fussy cut hearts. It's from one of Vicky Bouton's past collections. I can't recall which one it is, but I cut the hearts out ages ago. I bought the pattern paper purely so that I could fussy cut them, and they've been sitting there waiting for a project. So I've just pulled out 3 of the more brown tone hearts with some text on them, and then 3 in colours that coordinate with the backgrounds. And now I've got a little pack of ephemera from Rosie's studio. It's called the Field Notes collection, and I am just kind of going through it to see which pieces work. And there are these lovely little frames in the ephemera pack, and that just gave me an idea, and it reminded me of a pack of frames that I've got from another Rosie Studio collection, which I feel just work a little bit better. They're white with a little bit of gold accent on them, and I think those work quite nicely with the bright background. It's not too conflicting with all those lovely colours in the background. So I'm just trimming my photos to fit the frames. I love these photos. They're of my kids from a couple of years ago when we were in London, and it was autumn. We just introduced them to baby chinos, and they were collecting leaves, and it's really just such a lovely depiction of autumn, those beautiful autumn shades in the leaves, and a nice cozy delicious drink, and they were just having a ball. So they were the perfect photos for this layout. I'm just going to be fiddling away for a while, just pulling out some of that ephemera from the Rosie Studio collection that I'd gone through, and just placing bits and pieces, taking them off again, placing new bits and pieces, just until I'm happy with how everything looks. So I have gone for a bit of a tone on tone idea here. When I do bright rainbows, I like to embellish with tone on tone. However, you'll see later on I do swap some things out because the background is so vibrant, it doesn't need any more color in the foreground, I feel. So you'll see that a little bit later, but for now I am adding these cute little felt hearts. They are Peartree Pieces from Peartree Cutfiles, and I've also added some lovely little acrylic pieces, some gorgeous little leaves. These are new additions to the Peartree online store. They are called Peartree Bits, to match the lovely felt Peartree Pieces, bits and pieces, and they're a great addition to this autumn page. Now I've got this lovely little sheet of pattern paper. It's come in the most recent Lollipop Box Club, and it's got these really lovely autumn leaves that look like they've been hand drawn, so they're really just lovely, and I think fit in nicely with this layout. Now you can see I'm not doing tone on tone here. So I've started to veer off the tone on tone routine that I usually follow, and I'm focusing instead on including more autumnal colors in my embellishment, which is definitely a step away from my usual tone on tone when I'm using bright colors. But I'm liking how it's looking. So I'm just carrying on and seeing where it takes me. Now I've stuck down some gold letters to complete my title, which now says Autumn Leaves and Baby Chinos Please, which is just perfect for those photos. And now I've got this lovely little tag that I've kind of snipped in half. I've distressed the edges, and now I'm just twirling some twine around the top, just to add a little bit of texture and to echo the twine that thread through the autumn banner. And I really spend far too long twiddling with this piece of twine. I end up with one really short piece and one really long piece, but it all works out in the end, and I've just kind of wrapped it round, knotted it in a bit of a messy knot, and I'm just going to leave it for now, and I'll come back to it. So now I just keep adding. I've started an embellishment in the bottom left hand corner there, and I'm just kind of building on it, and I've got my photos that are slightly offset to the right a bit at the top, so I'm working on that cluster, and I've now added in the bottom half of that tag that I cut in half, and I used my paper punch, my note paper punch, just to kind of give it some note paper edges there, and then I've tucked it in the top right hand side behind those little purple hearts, which I've now just removed because I've decided I need to just extend that purple a little bit, just like I did with the red. I extended it down because the embellishments are totally hiding those colors, and I do want them just to be peeking out from the bottom and the side of those embellishments. Now I've just added some thin little strips of double-sided craft foam, and I've just done it down on the vertical little lines of that cut file. So I've left the rest of the cut file without any craft foam or anything. I feel that those strips going down between each little tag is more than enough, and it allows it to sit slightly raised. Now I'm sticking down my photos. The oval shaped one I've raised with some craft foam, and it's now sitting there sticking down. I've put my punch on top of it to keep it in place. And the larger of the 3 photos, I've also put craft foam behind. However, that little photo in the middle is just stuck directly onto the background. And now I'm just sticking the little embellishments into place behind those photos. The little hearts I'm folding in half just to give them a bit of dimension, and adding glue either just to one side of the heart or down the center. And I'm doing the same thing with those leaves. I'm not putting glue all over the leaves. I've just kind of done it on the stem and the innermost edges of those leaves so that the tips can lift up gently by themselves as well. Once again, I've gravitated towards a diagonal line of embellishment, but this time it's from the bottom left-hand corner up to the top right-hand corner. And I've got this cute little tab. It's also from the Lollipop Box Club, and I'm just raising that up and popping it behind the larger of the photos, just in front of that little tag. And I've got these cute little word stickers. They're autumn word phrases, also from the Lollipop Box Club, which I've just tucked in there too. Now to get this right-hand cluster stuck down, so I'm just trying to get that little piece of note paper tucked in, and I'm happy that I can see a little bit of the purple ink peeking out. And there was this cute little coffee cup piece of ephemera in the Field Notes ephemera pack, which was just perfect for this. So I'm seeing it as a little baby chino, which ties in nicely with my photos. And I've got this cute little acrylic leaf from Peartree Cutfiles, and I've not stuck it down yet because I'm not 100% sure where I want it to go. But in the meantime, while I'm having a think, I'm stamping the date on that little red outlined tab that's going to be in my bottom left-hand cluster, and I'm finally going to stick these bits and pieces down. But wait, I need to add more ink because I've not extended that color far enough down and my embellishments are still covering them up. So I spend quite a bit of time waiting for ink to dry with this layout so that I can carry on. But in the meantime, I'm just going to be working on that title some more. I'm not loving the gold as much as I thought I would. So I've changed out the gold leaves word for these larger alphas, which are from a past Paige Evans collection. And I'm trying to pick colors that tie in with that rainbow in the background. And I'm nearly there, but I couldn't get the V. There wasn't a blue V, which would have just been perfect. But I think this is close enough. Now I'm just fiddling with those cute little acrylic leaves once more and finding the perfect spot. I dot them all over the place, just having a look where I like them before I settle on their chosen location. I'm still not 100% sure, but now that ink in the bottom left-hand corner is finally dry, so I'm going back and getting those bits and pieces stuck down. So I'm going first for the heart, and I really like that red heart. It's really subtle, and this brown text heart as well works really nicely, just adding in a little bit of autumn tones with that bright rainbow in the background. If you like any of the cut files I've used or the lovely Peartree bits and pieces, I've linked them all up for you below. They're all available in the Peartree Cutfiles online store, and I'm also going to leave a description list of all the products I've used below for you as well, like I always do, just in case anything takes your fancy. I'm finally decided on where I want those acrylic little leaves to go. So I'm sticking my red leaf down in the little red corner there, and that little orange leaf is going to be perfect behind that little purple heart. And I lift up the little felt heart that had already stuck down, and I'm sticking that in there, and it just fits perfectly and kind of curves around that right hand tag there really nicely. Now I'm still not totally happy with the title. I thought I would leave it for a little bit and see if it grows on me, but I'm not loving it. So I'm bringing in this lovely like mustard ampersand, also from the Rosie Studio Field Notes puffy stickers, and I have also swapped out the gold. I've used some Ellie Studio yellow puffy stickers for the baby chinos, and then this is just a little sheet of craft colored alphas that I've stuck down there from my local Hobbycraft, and I'm really liking the mixed fonts for the title. Now I did try quite a few different alpha stickers. I've saved you watching all of that and I edited it out because I was driving myself crazy, so I didn't want to pass it on to you as well. So I did try quite a few alphas and nothing was quite right. But eventually I settled on the yellow. I just felt it was subtle enough that it didn't jump out too much from the page and it didn't conflict with those colors, and it just toned in nicely with the autumnal toned embellishments that I've used. Now I think I'm finally happy with how I've twiddled this twine and where I've placed it. So I'm just sticking it down and trimming it off a bit. I did kind of like unravel the twine a little bit so that the edges were a little bit rough and not this firmly formed piece of string, and I much prefer that more textured look. Now, one of the Lollipop Box Club kits that I received had these really cute gold paper clips. They're quite little and they've got a little heart on them, and it just worked really nicely at the top of the layout just to kind of bring in some of the gold that is on those little frames that I've used. And now I've got this lovely mix of gold and soft yellow tone sequins, and I'm just dotting them along that diagonal as well, from the bottom left all the way up to the top right. So just in little spaces here and there, nothing too much. And I'm liking just this kind of single tone color, which again doesn't conflict too much with the background. Now I'm feeling like the embellishments at the top there just need something. They are kind of just blending into the white background, so I do ink the edges a little bit with a distress ink, and I'm also swapping out those colored hearts. So the tealy turquoise one and the purple one, I'm just using a brownie craft toned heart instead, because I'm feeling that those colors are kind of jumping out too much into the foreground, and I want to keep the colors in the background so that the photos don't get too lost, and I just feel that the brown tones just work better with the rest of the embellishments that I've used. Now, it's not the easiest to decide to ink things once you've already stuck stuff down, but for the most part I managed to ink all the things that I wanted to, and here is my complete layout. Thank you so much for sticking with me until the very end. I really hope you've enjoyed this video and that you've seen something that inspires you to create something colorful too. If you've enjoyed this video, I'd be so grateful if you gave me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. You can also find me on Instagram at Handmade Happy by Monique. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!